Listen to me. Right now, wherever you are, whatever you're going through, I need you to understand something fundamental about yourself. You are capable of so much more than you believe. Not in some distant future when conditions are perfect. Not when you finally have enough money or time or support. Right now, today, with exactly what you have in your hands at this moment. I know you don't feel that way. I know there's a voice in your head that tells you otherwise. It whispers that you've tried before and failed. It reminds you of every mistake, every time you started something and didn't finish, every promise you made to yourself that you broke. That voice is loud, isn't it? It sounds so convincing, so reasonable, so true. But here's what that voice doesn't tell you. Every single person who ever accomplished anything extraordinary heard that exact same voice. Every champion, every artist, every person who built something meaningful from nothing had to fight through that same crushing doubt. The only difference between them and the people who gave up is that they decided to move forward anyway. You know what the hardest part is? It's not the actual work. It's not the early mornings or the late nights or the sacrifice. The hardest part is believing you deserve to try. The hardest part is giving yourself permission to want something more than what you have. We're so afraid of appearing arrogant, so terrified of disappointment, that we talk ourselves out of our own dreams before we even begin. We kill our ambitions in the cradle to protect ourselves from the pain of failure. But let me ask you something. How's that working out? How does it feel to play it safe? To spend your days doing things that don't matter, working toward goals that aren't yours, living a life designed by other people's expectations? Does it hurt less than failure? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like a different kind of pain, a quieter kind. The kind that doesn't announce itself with a dramatic crash, but slowly drains the color from your life until you can barely remember what it felt like to be excited about tomorrow. You weren't born to live like that. You weren't put on this earth to spend decades just getting by, just surviving, just making it to the weekend. There's something in you that wants more. I know there is, because you're still reading this. Because some part of you, maybe buried deep under years of disappointment and compromise, still believes that things could be different. Here's the truth that nobody wants to tell you because it's uncomfortable. Things could be different. Not might be. Not possibly. They could actually be different. You could wake up a year from now in a completely transformed life. You could be healthier, stronger, more skilled, more successful, more fulfilled. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is not as impossible as it seems. It's just made up of days, individual days, and you have control over what you do with today. But first, you have to stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for the perfect moment when everything aligns and the path forward is clear and you're confident you won't fail. That moment doesn't exist. It never has, and it never will. Every person who ever did anything worth doing felt scared and unprepared when they started. The difference is they started anyway. Do you know how many chances you've already missed because you were waiting to feel ready? Do you know how many versions of your life you've let slip away because you convinced yourself it wasn't the right time? I'm not trying to make you feel guilty. I'm trying to wake you up. Because time is the one resource you can never get back. And every day you spend waiting is a day you'll never have again. Think about where you were 5 years ago. Think about the things you worried about then, the problems that seemed so overwhelming, the future that felt so uncertain. Most of that probably doesn't matter anymore, does it? You survived it, you got through it, and you'll survive whatever comes next too. But imagine if 5 years ago you had started working towards something that mattered to you. Imagine if you had taken just one small step every day toward becoming the person you wanted to be. Where would you be now? Now think about 5 years from now. You can spend those 5 years the same way you spent the last 5. Drifting along, making plans you don't follow through on, telling yourself you'll start tomorrow. Or you can decide that today is the day everything changes. Not because you suddenly became a different person. Not because circumstances magically aligned, but because you chose to start. I'm not talking about some massive dramatic transformation. I'm talking about doing one thing today that moves you in the right direction. One thing. Maybe it's 30 minutes of practice. Maybe it's a difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe it's finally starting that project you've been thinking about for months. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be good. It just has to be real. Because here's what happens when you actually start. You discover that you're more capable than you thought. That first step that seems so impossible, you take it and you survive. You take another step, you survive that too. Slowly, you start to build evidence that contradicts the story you've been telling yourself about your limitations. You start to see that maybe, just maybe, you're stronger than you believed. And yes, you're going to fail. You're going to have days when you fall flat on your face, when you make stupid mistakes, when you want to quit. Let me save you some time. Those days are coming whether you try or not. The question is whether you're going to fail while attempting something that matters to you, or fail by default because you never tried at all. At least when you fail while trying, you learn something. You get data. You figure out what doesn't work, which brings you closer to figuring out what does. But when you fail by not trying, all you get is regret. And regret is a special kind of poison because it doesn't fade with time. It grows. That thing you didn't try haunts you. That risk you didn't take becomes a story about what could have been. And those stories hurt in a way that actual failure never does. Because at least with failure, you know. You tried. It didn't work. You can make peace with that. But not trying, that stays with you. I know you're tired. I know you've been fighting battles that nobody sees. I know there are days when just getting out of bed feels like a victory. And maybe right now that is enough. Maybe today survival is success. But I also know that humans need more than survival to truly live. We need purpose. We need to feel like we're building towards something. We need to believe that our struggle has meaning. Give your struggle meaning. Stop fighting just to get through the day and start fighting for something. It doesn't have to be world-changing. It doesn't have to impress anyone else. It just has to matter to you. Maybe it's getting healthy so you can play with your kids without getting winded. Maybe it's learning a skill so you can change careers. Maybe it's creating something beautiful just because you want to prove to yourself that you can. Whatever it is, let it be the thing that pulls you forward when everything else is pushing you back. And when people doubt you, when they tell you to be realistic, when they project their own fears and limitations onto your dreams, remember this. Their doubts say nothing about you. They say everything about them, about the dreams they gave up on, about the risks they were too afraid to take, about the person they wish they had been brave enough to become. Don't let their regrets become your limitations. You're going to need to become a little selfish about this. A little ruthless about protecting your time and energy and attention. People will want you to stay the same because your growth makes them uncomfortable. It reminds them of their own stagnation. They'll disguise it as concern. They'll tell you they're just being practical, just looking out for you, just trying to protect you from disappointment. But what they're really trying to protect is their own worldview, where people like you don't become people like that. Prove them wrong. Not to spite them, not to show off, but because you deserve to see what you're capable of. You deserve to find out what happens when you stop making excuses and start making progress. You deserve to experience what it feels like to be proud of yourself, to look in the mirror and recognize the person looking back as someone who keeps their promises to themselves. And here's what nobody tells you about that journey. It's hard in ways you don't expect, but it's also beautiful in ways you can't imagine. Yes, you'll face obstacles. Yes, you'll want to quit. But you'll also have moments of breakthrough that feel like magic. Moments when something clicks and suddenly you can do what seemed impossible yesterday. Moments when you realize you've become the kind of person who doesn't give up. Those moments are worth everything. The pain of growth is temporary. The pain of regret is permanent. Choose your pain wisely. Right now, today, you have a choice. You can close this, go back to whatever you were doing, and nothing changes. Tomorrow looks like today. Next year looks like this year. Or you can decide that this is the moment. This is when the story shifts. This is when you stop being the person things happen to and start being the person who makes things happen. I can't make that choice for you. Nobody can. But I can tell you this. The world needs what you have to offer. Not the watered-down, playing it safe version of you. The real you. The you that's been buried under years of other people's expectations and your own fears. The you that still has dreams, even if you've been too afraid to acknowledge them. That version of you deserves a chance. So take it. Take the chance, take the risk, take the first step, and then take another, And another, keep going even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because that's when you're growing. That's when you're becoming who you were meant to be. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are exactly where you need to be to start. And the fact that you've read this far tells me everything I need to know about you. You're ready. You might not feel ready, but you are. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. Now go prove it. Not to me, not to anyone else. To yourself. Show yourself what you're made of. Become the person you've always known you could be. The person you've been too scared to let yourself become. It's time. It's your time. Take it.